It's finally here. I have compiled my best and worst films of 2021. The top 25, the bottom 10. We're going to talk about all of it right now. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It, and yep, we have got the best and worst of 2021 in film. I wanted to do this a few weeks ago, but just didn't happen, and I ended up getting sick and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? The Oscars were only a month ago. It seems like forever ago that we heard the slap around the world. But no, it was really just about 4 weeks ago that we did the Oscars, sort of putting a final pin in 2021. So I've gotten all my reviews up. I've seen 200 movies from 2021 and reviewed all of them. So many of them have standalone reviews. Many of them are in sort of group reviews, but you can check them all out if you missed any, or if you want to go back and see some in a playlist on my channel simply titled Movies 2020 or Movie Reviews 2021. So let's get into the best and the worst here. I am going to put in the description the final grades for all 200 of the movies I reviewed for 2021. And some of the grades have changed a little bit from when I originally reviewed them. Upon reflection, months and months later, yes, I've lowered some, I've raised some, either from multiple viewings or just from reflection on the movie. Because usually when I do the movie review, it's within about 24, 48 hours of seeing the movie, so it's fresh. But, then I think a little more about it, or, maybe talk to some friends that help me see differently, or whatever. Or I see it a second time and realize it's either, better or worse than I originally thought. So, in any event, all of the grades will be posted below in the description, so you can check out all 200 with easy access there. But I have compiled the top 25 and the bottom 10. So first we're going to get to the good ones, and then we'll pause right before we hit the top 10 and move on to the bad side for a little bit. So total for A pluses, A's, and A minuses for the year, I had 35. So I do want to sort of briefly acknowledge the 10 A minuses that did not make the cut for the top 25, but are definitely in that category and are certainly worthy of mentioning, and we'll just do those in alphabetical order. Billie Eilish, The World's a Little Blurry, that was a documentary. Fear Street Part 3, 1666. The Night House, Our Friend, Red Rocket, The Sparks Brothers, another music documentary. The Suicide Squad, which that probably would have been number 26 if I had put these in order. Val, which is the Val Kilmer documentary. Worth, featuring Michael Keaton. And then a documentary called Writing with Fire that was up for Best Doc at the Oscars this year. So those are the other A pluses that do not get mentioned here in the top 25, but I think are worthy of checking out. Obviously, I did enjoy them. So let's get then into the top 25. So the first 9 of these, I believe, are going to be from the A minus category. We start with number 25, a movie that definitely increased in its grade from my original viewing, Raya and the Last Dragon. I originally gave this a B plus, but upon further reflection, you know what? Yes, it does deserve that A minus. It does things a lot differently for a Disney princess movie, and it was quite enjoyable, so I stick that at number 25. The good news about me doing these so late in the year is pretty much everything I'm talking about is available either free on streaming, or you can get the DVD at Redbox or on demand or something. So you'll be able to see these movies, pretty much all of them at this point. Number 24, Flea. That's F-L-E-E, and this was in several categories at the Oscars this year. Best International Feature, Best Documentary, and Best Animated. Yeah, we don't get too many of those 3 categories. In fact, this is the first one that's ever been nominated for those 3 specific categories, but very, very good movie. Pretty heart-wrenching, honestly. But yeah, really, really intense. And the animation was an interesting choice, but I think it worked to match the anonymity of the main subject of the film. So Flea gets number 24. Number 23, The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Jessica Chastain won the Oscar for Best Actress for this. Well-deserved, but really the whole movie was just fantastic. Andrew Garfield, had a lot of great roles this year. In fact, I think he may appear the most in my top 25 of anybody. I think that's true. But he gives a great job here as well. And I sort of am old enough to remember sort of the basics of this story and how it played out. And boy, they just nailed these two characters for sure. Number 23, The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Number 22 is one of the last ones, actually, I watched for the whole year. It's called I'm Your Man. And it is one of, I think, just two foreign films on my list. Number 24 was Flea, and this is the other one, number 22. It's a romantic comedy, drama, science fiction even, out of, I think it was Germany. And man, it was a really fun ride with this movie. Dan Stevens, who you may know from Downton Abbey, actually was the main star of this one. Very good stuff, and one maybe you've not heard of. I'm Your Man, it's called. Number 21, Last Night in Soho. This was a surprise. A horror comedy of sorts. Again, sci-fi as well. This one threads that line of many great genres. Edgar Wright was I think, director on this, right? But Anya Taylor-Joy, always a pleasure to see her. And something that really surprised me every which way, this movie. Really, really good. There's a couple of horror movies on my list that you'll see, but that one at number 21, Last Night in Soho. Number 20, Ryan Reynolds in Free Guy. This was a lot of fun. I would say this was the first real comedy back at the multiplex in about a year and a half after COVID. So I think that totally, speaks to how fun it was, though, that I watched it myself. I wasn't even in like a crowded theater, and I still had a blast watching it. I laughed. I thought the effects were great, and Ryan Reynolds, of course, hilarious as always. So number 20 for that. Number 19, another Andrew Garfield entry, Spider-Man No Way Home. This one is another one that my grade increased on with further reflection, and in this case it was seeing clips of it over and over again at various times of the film while I was working at the movie theater when we had it. I watched it originally and thought, it's pretty good, but is it too inside with the Spider-Man stuff? And it turns out I don't think it is. This really is one of the best Spider-Man movies we've ever had, and it brings some of the best parts of all the ones that came before it into one film. A lot of fun again, and that lands at number 19. Number 18, Nightmare Alley. This was up for Best Picture at the Oscars. Bradley Cooper, Cate Blanchett, really an all-star cast. Guillermo del Toro was the director of this one. And it's a remake. I'm interested in seeing the Tyrone Power version from the 40s to see how it compares. But this really is a great throwback to those 40s and 50s neo-noir films. And the ending scene is one of my favorite scenes this entire year of cinema. I really liked it. So Nightmare Alley gets number 18. Number 17, this is the other horror one on the list, A Quiet Place Part 2. For me, this is pretty much neck and neck with that original Quiet Place. They are both so unique and so different. This explains a little bit more about what's going on in the world. It starts with sort of a prequel couple of scenes, and then we launch into the present day. And no spoilers, but if you saw one, you maybe know what happened in that, and we pick up where that leaves off. And this is another great one. And I did see this in a theater, and it's one of those movies where I think you need to. And you need to see it in a respectful theater where everybody's actually quiet, because that's where it works the most. But this was another great one. I'm looking forward to the third. They've announced that. But Quiet Place Part 2 comes in at number 17 for me. So that does it for the A-minuses. Now we get to a bunch of A's. I think the next, 14 or 15 are going to be from, no, not that many, because there's only 16 left, and 3 of them are A+. So I guess 13 of them are A's. I didn't do the math right on that. We start with one that, here's a movie that, from a personal standpoint, this probably would be more for the B+ or the B range in terms of personal enjoyment. But in terms of sheer magnitude and scope and effects and everything that comes with it, I think A is appropriate for Dune. And that's where number 16 lands for me. The cast is pretty fun here too, but really this is the spectacle. You need to see this on the big screen. So, if you have a huge TV, you can check it out at your leisure. But if not, maybe wait till the second one gets released, and some theaters will do sort of the double feature thing. Because I do think that if watched on a small screen, it definitely loses something. So for what it's worth, number 16, Dune, is a epic in scope film, but for me personally, story wise, probably a little lower than most of the A minuses on the list, really. But in terms of magnitude of screen, yes, 16 Dune, I think, stands really alone. I mean, of all of these movies, it is probably the most technically well put together, except for maybe my number one, which we'll get to. But number 15, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, another Marvel entry, one of two, obviously, if you include Spider-Man No Way Home. But this one just blew me away. I didn't know what to expect. Didn't know what this character even was. Who is Shang-Chi? Never heard of him. But this was a lot of fun too, and it deviated a bit from the standard Marvel formula while still having sort of all of those mainstays. And that was a lot of fun to see at the movies as well. Number 15, Shang-Chi. Number 14, King Richard, another Oscar winner here in Will Smith. Of course, his performance will forever be overshadowed by other things going on currently with him. But this was a tour de force performance, and he most likely deserved to win. I would say it was down to 2 for me, and I was happy that he won because this is an incredible performance. And he's not the only one that gives that. But I do think it's an interesting thing to take it from his perspective, the father of Venus and Serena, because we know most of their story, even me as a non-sports fan. So I think, having it be his story about them is definitely an interesting way to go, and it made it stand out from a lot of other biopics. So that's number 14 for the year. Number 13, another documentary on the list. There's a few of these on here. Attica, though, is number 13. This was nominated for Best Documentary at the Oscars, and deservedly so. It takes us behind the scenes at the Attica prison riots from 50 years ago, and some of the stories told by people that were there. It's intense stuff and very well put together as a doc. Number 13. Number 12, this is another one of the last ones I watched for the year. Come On, Come On, starring Joaquin Phoenix. And this was a black and white sort of, coming of age story for this kid that he has to look after. But really, he comes of age himself, Joaquin Phoenix, because, the character anyway, because he learns a lot about life during this movie, and I love the candid interviews sort of interspersed. He's, like a podcast interviewer, and he interviews kids about the meaning of life and stuff like that, and the answers they give are really cool, and it sort of breaks up the story a little bit too and gives us some fun stuff. So that's number 12. Number 11, another black and white film. I think my only other one on the list is Belfast. This is one I ended up watching twice because, to be frank, I wasn't all in the first time. I think it was like a B+ or something, and then I decided to watch it again before giving it the full review treatment and grading it, and it's a clear A. I don't know where my head was at when I first watched it, but it's truly one of the best of the year. Kenneth Branagh did a great job directing, and it's basically a story of his childhood, and everything about this works. The acting is great. Jude Hill, the little kid, fantastic. They should bring back the juvenile Oscar because he would have won it this year for sure. He's excellent in the role. And another, strong choice with the black and white, but I think it works. It doesn't always work, but I think there's a certain sort of subset of movie genres that it works for, and I think this is one of them. The coming of age, especially for a love letter to films of the late 60s. I think this works totally in black and white. It's a good choice there. So, all right, let us pause from the good and move on over to the bad, the bottom 10. And I had 7 Fs for the year, so that part was easy. But what of the Ds? I had 7 Ds as well. And so where do we put those? Well, 3 of them made the bottom 10. The other 4 I will just read off to you in alphabetical order, just like we did with the A minuses. So the 4 Ds that are bad, stay away from them, but they did not make the worst 10 of the year, are The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, Infinite with Mark Wahlberg, The Kissing Booth 3. Why are they doing a third one? And then Shadow in the Cloud, one of them that came out, I think, on the first day of the year of 2021, and starting out with an oomph there. But the bottom 10, oh yes, the worst of the year. The first 3 here are D's for me. Boss Level at number 10. This is Frank Grillo, and it's a Groundhog Day conceit. The whole time loop thing didn't work for me. Horribly unlikable character as well. Number 9, Don't Breathe 2. Sometimes the worst movies of the year are horrors, and there's a few on this list here. But why make a sequel for one of the most reprehensible movie characters in recent memory? I don't know, but they tried to make him the hero in this. It did not work. And then number 8, Snake Eyes, the G.I. Joe film. Again, why bother with this? It's so generic and so boring. So that's number 8. Now, the rest of these are all Fs for the year, the worst of the worst. Number 7, The Starling with Melissa McCarthy. I usually like her, maybe not all of her movies for sure, but boy, this one didn't know what it wanted to be. Was it going to be a pratfall comedy? Was it going to be this drama about death? They couldn't figure it out, and neither could I. Number 7 is The Starling. Number 6, Home Sweet Home Alone. Awful in just about every way. The kid from Jojo Rabbit was not cute. I wanted to punch him. And the themes were just, it was like a pale, pathetic attempt at recreating some sort of magic from the original. Did not work for me. And it's an issue with Disney buying Fox. They're, reviving all the old Fox properties. Number 5, another horror, Things Heard and Seen. Amanda Seyfried. I think maybe this was a Netflix original. And maybe Kevin Bacon was in it too, if I'm remembering. I watched this almost a year ago now, so it's hard to remember, but it was bad. The scares didn't quite make sense. Too many jump scares. Interesting concept, but they just didn't really do anything with it. Number 4 was Bliss. This is basically a Matrix-type ripoff with Owen Wilson and Salma Hayek. I think it went directly to DVD, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was in select theaters. It was sort of when a lot of theaters were still closed for COVID, and maybe that is for the best, because you should stay away from this movie, Bliss. Number 3, Separation, another straight-ahead horror. This one with Mamie Gummer, the daughter of Meryl Streep. She's still sort of finding her footing, I think, in the film industry. This was all over the place in terms of the scares and the storyline. This creepy kid that made the weird drawings, and we've seen that 100 times. So bad movie. Number 2, another one with a great concept that just stunk on every level, is M. Night Shyamalan's Old. The acting is so bad, and I think it's mostly due to the stilted dialogue. Nobody in this movie talked like they were a real person. Shyamalan needs better scripts. I don't know if he's ever heard an actual conversation with humans, but it wasn't this. Old at number 2. And then number 1 for me, I was shocked that a movie could be worse than Old, and it took about 8 months to get there, but finally I watched one in my DVD recaps that came out, I think, in the fall of last year, but I watched it in March of this year. Flag Day, starring Sean Penn. This was so bad. His daughter is in it as his daughter, and she cannot act. And it's weird because her mom is, what's-her-face that I love, Robin Wright. And Sean Penn obviously can usually act. Here, not so much. And he directed this too. Very bad directing. Worst use of Pearl Jam and Eddie Vedder on a movie soundtrack I've ever heard. This is a miss for sure. So stay away from Flag Day. All right, so let's get back to the good, shall we? We've only got 10 left, and these are all either A's or A+. The cream of the crop here. And many of them have been nominated for awards. Some of them have won awards. And I would say all of them deserve to win something. But number 10, The Mitchells versus the Machines, my top animated for the year. I think super creative team of Phil Lord and Chris Miller. They never really fail in my eyes. Everything they do is at least like a B+, A- minimum. Last Man on Earth with Fox, which ran 4 years. The Lego Movie. All of this stuff is just top notch, and this was no exception. I go back and forth with my buddy Tim about this because he's a Raya fan. Listen, hey, you got my grade up, Tim, to an A- with Raya, but for me, this is still the superior film. So funny. Funniest animated of the year for sure, and just a good time. Pig is number 9. Nicolas Cage, why didn't you get nominated for this movie? So good. Such a surprise. And I did a whole sort of Nick Cage wrap-up when I reviewed this and Willy's Wonderland. Both great movies, but Pig came out superior for sure. I know he's having a bit of a career resurgence right now with the Massive Talent movie, but this for me is the pinnacle of what Nick Cage has done in the past, I don't know, 10 to 15 years, if not more. Really, fantastic stuff. Great story. He played this really great soft-spoken character, except when he needed to be, and then he got things done. But a good one to see if you've missed it. Number 8, another documentary, another music-based one, and I may be a little bit more biased on this one because I was in radio at the time of this, but Woodstock 99, Peace, Love, and Rage. This was a TV documentary. It was on HBO Max, and it just blew me away. Everything about this sort of brought me back to that time. The way it was shot and the way it was discussed. You know, they didn't just say, okay, what went wrong here? No, they talked about the entire culture of the moment with, you know, the angry white men of Limp Bizkit, Stained, Kid Rock, Korn, sort of leading the charge with this swell of anger that was going on in the culture. And so, you know, the way they delved into that was just brilliant. This one stuck with me more than any other documentary this year, because it was certainly in my lifetime and something that I dealt with firsthand, being in alternative radio at the time. So that's number 8. Number 7 is one that I definitely raised my grade on because I think it was originally a B+. But then I went to see it again on the big screen after it won Best Picture of the Year. I'm talking about Coda. And this is number 7 for me. So not quite my best, but definitely deserves to be part of the conversation. And I'm not angry that it won. Maybe the romance part is a little bit pedantic, but when you take into consideration that this girl's whole life has been sort of, her identity has been the child of deaf adults. That's what CODA stands for. It's nice that she got a little bit of normal romance to her story. And great performances here all around. This not only won Best Picture, but also Best Supporting Actor for Troy Kotsur, well-deserved. And I think it won Screenplay was the other one, also well-deserved. All right, number 6. Well, this is probably my mainstream blockbuster pick of the top 10, and that's going to be Ghostbusters Afterlife. I had so much fun watching this movie. This almost was an A+ for me, but it's a little bit too reminiscent of the first Ghostbusters. But I love what they did with the story. I love the new characters they gave us. I love the throwbacks to the original. This was fun all the way around. I am excited that they just announced the official direct sequel to this one, with hopefully some of the same characters returning, because I really was happy with how a lot of this movie turned out. Had a blast watching it. Number 5. Now, you'll note 4 of my top 5 movies have to do with music, and 3 of them are direct musicals. 2021 was the year of musicals. I said this during one of my recent wrap-ups. And to list a couple that I'm not going to talk about here in the top 5, but everybody's talking about Jamie was a lot of fun as well. I think that was a Prime original on Amazon. And that was, I guess, the only other one of note. Encanto obviously was big as well, but everything else sort of fell by the wayside a little bit. But when 3 of your top 5 of the year are straight-ahead musicals, this was a year for the musical. Number 5 is In the Heights. Here's another one that came very close to getting an A+. Really, all of these did in the top 6. But this was a lot of fun. I was on vacation in Oregon, and my friends had not even heard of this movie, but I said, we got to go to the premiere of this thing. I've been waiting for this for over a year. It's the Lin-Manuel Miranda show from Broadway that they brought, which I didn't even know much about. I just know about him. But I saw a couple of the previews, and I was like, this is for me. I know I'm going to love this, and it didn't disappoint. I saw it twice in 48 hours, and loved it both each time. Cried probably even harder the second time. The music is fantastic. Was listening to the soundtrack for weeks. In the Heights is up there for me, but not as good as some of these others, including number 4, Tick, Tick, Boom. Andrew Garfield strikes again. It's the year of the musicals, the year of the Andrew Garfield, for sure. This was a Netflix original, and again, a movie about something I knew a little bit about. I knew who Jonathan Larson was. I knew that he created Rent. I knew that he died before Rent went up, but I didn't know really anything about this other thing. But the fact that Andrew Garfield really didn't know how to play piano, really didn't sing professionally before this movie. Oh my God. It makes La La Land look, like a distant waste with the music in there, because my God, what a tour de force performance this was. And I love La La Land. I'm not really crapping on it. La La Land's still up there. I think it was, in my top 3 of that year it was released. But look, Andrew Garfield, tour de force for sure. And he drives this movie. It's fantastic. Tick, tick, boom. Number 3, this is the one that has nothing to do with music. In fact, it's got everything to do with 4 people sitting around a table. This is one of my A-pluses for the year. It's called Mass, and it was getting some awards love overseas at the BAFTAs, for example, the British Academy Awards, with Anne Dowd. I don't think she won, but she was nominated for a supporting actress role in this. But this is about 4 people sitting around a table in pretty much real time discussing an incredibly serious event. I think it spoils the movie a little bit to know any more than that going into it. But the conversations here, very intense. The script, amazing. So this is one for me. I love these kind of movies, and this is done excellently. So Mass, number 3. Number 2, this one won Best Documentary Feature at the Oscars, and it is another music-related thing. It's very music-heavy. Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Could Not Be Televised. This was directed by Questlove of the Roots crew, and it is all about the Harlem festivals of the 1960s. In fact, 1969, the summer of the original Woodstock. So because of that, that got all the press. This got swept under the rug. I was horrified as a music fan to not know anything about this. And thank God this footage is so pristine. It was, kept, I guess, in a very nice air-controlled basement because it's flawless. They cleaned it up a little bit, but it looks like it was shot yesterday. And the interviews are great. This is hands down the best doc of the year, maybe the best music doc I've ever seen. Number 2 for sure. But number 1, look, I've been talking about it endlessly since I saw it about 4 months ago now. If Coda didn't win Best Picture, this one really, really should have. And it is, other than Dune, I said Dune maybe was technically the best put together film of the year. This one certainly rivals it, and it's a lot more fun to watch, and it's a lot more fun to tap your toes to. West Side Story, of course, is number 1. If you watch my channel at all, you probably know that, because boy, oh boy, what a movie. When I had my buddy Tim on and we talked about the Oscar nominees and who we think should win and will win, I always go back to this idea with this movie of the fact that everyone universally loves that first West Side Story from 60 years ago, or 60 or 70 now. I don't know. I think, 60, I think. 62, or 61. Everyone loves that West Side Story, right? There's, nobody, no detractors. And everyone agrees that this is somehow even better than that original one. And I'm one of them. My buddy Tim, West Side Story, the original, one of his 50 favorites of all time, and even he says, yes, this is better. Steven Spielberg, for my money, is the director of our lives. I think if there was a Mount Rushmore of directors, there's no way you don't have Spielberg on there. And he does every genre. Has he done a musical before? Probably, but I can't remember. But he does everything well. Not every movie he's done has been a success, but every genre he's attempted, we've really gotten something out of, and I think this is one of his best. It's amazing that, 70 years old or however old he is, that he's maybe given us one of his top 3 or 5 greatest movies of all time this year with West Side Story. So I can't say enough about it. I had a great big review about it. But anyway, number 1 for sure for 2021. So anyhow, thank you so much. I know it's been a long time in the making, but listen, 2022 movies, I think will come a little earlier because I believe Oscars are set to be back on the regular schedule, which is going to be late February, early March, instead of having to wait till late March for the awards. So that gives us a smaller window to watch movies for the year, but I think we can hit 200 again and bring you another perfect best and worst here next year of the top 25 and bottom 10. But like I said, the description will have every grade for every movie that I watched for 2021 below, so you can check out those if you didn't see your favorite in the list here. All right, thanks so much for watching. I'll see everybody next time. Bye.